Hey everyone, it's Phoenix again. I wanted to make another video to show the new changes to LootDrop Reborn. I just made a big update to this one, but I've been working on this quite a bit lately, on and off, and I'm pretty excited about the new changes I've added. The main thing is that it's completely customizable now. The biggest drawback before was that different people have different styles, obviously. So it was locked into one basically display of how things looked. There were some different broad sweeping modes that you could change, but they were not really that impactful. And again, even if you change themes, it still was pretty much locked into how it looked in that theme, and there was only like 3 themes. So what I did was I went ahead and just completely rewrote the whole add-on basically. But the main part of it is it is now completely modular. So for each type of loot, you can actually now, for example, I'll just open up gold. You can build the way it looks piece by piece. So you can enable or disable showing the name. You can enable and disable showing, it's different for each one. But for example, with gold, you can toggle off all these individual things you see. You can set the color of the text. And you'll see up at the top here, there's this new menu. I've added a lot to the preview mode that I built. Basically now, and also it will redock the preview mode over to the right hand side of your add-on options now automatically, which doesn't change where your settings have it saved to be located. It just temporarily relocates it. So you can see it. Before it was like if you had your loot drop over here, it was behind the menus and you couldn't really see it. I also added individual preview modes for all the different things. So for example, if you want to edit how gold looks, you turn on preview mode for gold, and it'll just start bumping. These are fake values, but just so you can see what it looks like, you can, for example, I can disable showing the name. I can disable showing the suffix, so that doesn't even have the little G. I can show the suffix, but then turn off custom color. So, because having a custom color just for a little G doesn't really look so good. But if you turn on the full name, it kind of looks cool to have a custom color for it. And I've preset custom colors for all the different loot types. You can turn off the plus or minus in front of the values, though I don't recommend it because then you don't know if you're gaining or losing gold other than your total changing, and it's hard to read that in real time. But you can see it's all granular now. You can enable and build, and you can even do like custom name for what it's called if you want to. You can just delete that and it'll set it back to the default. So yeah, there are different options for all the different types of things. Like for alliance points, you'll see there's like different options in there. So you can turn on, like here you see it showing the value, what it is. So a lot of that's the same. You can turn off the prefix, you can turn off the name, you can change the color. It's showing your rank and your rank icon and the percent towards your next rank. The progress in your skill lines for the Alliance War, the assault and support with the actual skills, is tracked separately through the skills section. But if you want, you can turn on extended progress, and it's going to show you your total AP, and these are fake values obviously, but the total AP in progress you've made in the current rank and how much you need in the rank, so you can see those specific values. Those are off by default. It just shows their percent. You can turn off your rank icon if you want, though I think it looks pretty cool. So all these different options, again, you can set a custom name for every single type. And then companions, it's got all the settings for companion XP. You can actually have it show their full name. So by default, it just shows their first name. You can customize that. Again, you can show extended progress information. So there's like tons and tons of stuff, and the preview now is super, super cool. You can actually see, like rapport here, it's showing you the actual value you gained, and then the little icon showing whether it was good or bad, but then it's got a running total here. So it makes more sense. You can see the total you've got since this appeared. So that's kind of cool. The preview really makes it super easy to customize now too. You've got all these options, but it was trial and error before. You'd have to go and actually loot those things, and a lot of these you don't really loot that often. But now you can just set whatever mode, and it's got some like cool Easter egg things, like you can set all loot types, and it'll just start scrolling through like all the different stuff. And that's more just for giggles, but it is kind of, you can see the pre-built colors just to get an idea of how it looks. You can also move the loot window around while you're in preview mode, and it doesn't affect where your save variables are. So like if I move it, if I exit, it's actually, you know, goes back to wherever your settings had it set, and automatically turns the preview mode off. But certain things like you might want to check just to note, go into the skills section, and a lot of these, the main settings apply to all skills right here, but individual ones down here you might want to turn on and off. Like for example, weaponry skills, that's like if your destruction staff line increases your two-handed weapon, you might want to turn that off. It's up to you. Some of the other ones in here, world tree skills, it tells you what they are. It's like excavation, scrying, soul magic tree, vampire, and werewolf. So if you don't care about those, any of these individual ones you can turn off, or you can just turn off all skills globally here. But there's tons and tons of options. That's one thing you should probably check. And then currencies. So like all of the different currencies are under this section, and they have their own preview as well, so you can see how that looks. Telvar, it's got your multiplier. You can actually turn off showing that. So it's all toggleable. It's really just get in here and play with this. This is like super cool now. So that was the big thing. Like the full preview mode is just rocks, and the ability to see while you're configuring, and then all these configuration options is just really, really makes it just super cool. Like you can get it to look exactly like you want. I mean, some of the options, all of the options that were there before are still there. So the themes mainly now control the icons for things. There are some subtle things like the background changes, but then like, for example, if you liked Pocket's icons, but you wanted the background from ESO Classic, you can go in here and pick, and I believe it's default BG. So you can actually pick the background that you want, but use the theme you want for the icons in the background for whatever the background you want. So you can customize it here as well, and all the values that were there before for the duration that it shows before it scrolls, the max number, that's all unchanged pretty much. Value display I tweaked a little bit. So this, instead of it being confusing like it was before where it only applied to certain things, this will just apply to everything now, because it doesn't really make sense that anyone would want to see 10,000 without the comma in it for some values, but then have the comma for other values. So I just made it global. I did leave the ability to truncate and the ability to use the dot instead of the comma, but these are now global, so that's a lot less confusing. You don't have the extra options to have to choose to show it for gold or choose to show it for experience. It's just for everything now. That's the main. I rearranged all these options into better menus, so it's more like in the save variables too. It was just one big pile. If you actually looked at the file, I actually put them into subtables now. So if you look at the save variables, there's like a general table that has general settings in it. There's a loot table that has the loot settings in it, etc. It's like way more readable now if you needed to go in and look at the save variables for any reason. And speaking of which, this is a huge update, and I fixed a ton of bugs, lots of variables that didn't exist, didn't reference anything. And in the process of all this cleanup work and new features, I did increment the database version number. So basically, when you get this new version, it's going to reset all your save variables. But what you're seeing here is the defaults. So when you first load it up, it's going to look just like this. Everything's pre-colored, everything's pre-set up. But you will have to go in and initially configure all the new options, mainly just to disable the things you don't want to see. There's not a whole lot to configure, honestly, other than turning things off, and then how long you want things to show, and your height settings and stuff like that, and then maybe whether or not you want to show group loot in chat. And then you can set the quality level as well. Like right now, by default, it's going to show in the chat any loot of your own that's green quality or better, and any loot from group members that's blue quality or better. But if you want, you can set this to like show any group loot, or green or better, or however you want it. But you'll just have to come in here and set your initial settings. It's no big deal. But the new preview mode, super proud of that. That came out really good. So hope you enjoy it. Again, I am really trying to raise some money for myself to pay off some debts, and for my dad. It's his birthday today, and he turned 76, and he's going in for surgery on his legs to get his circulation working again. But we have very little in the way of resources. I'm living on about $560 a month in disability, which is all I qualify for, but I have a bleeding brain cavernoma that is pretty much debilitating. I can't really do any kind of work. I'm really not bedridden, but room-ridden most of the time. And I really don't have any way to make money except maybe getting some donations for some of the add-on projects I tinker with. And so if you have the ability to help out, it would mean a lot to us. So I always just mention that in the videos. But I hope you enjoy the new update. I put a lot of heart and soul into it. So this is always the add-ons I work on is like a labor of love. I do it because I enjoy it, but I also enjoy sharing it with you guys. So I hope you like it. And let me know what you think. And I'll see you next time. Take it easy.